So Arthur comes from County Meath, and there's a link with AE going back to generations. So to begin, Arthur, could you give us an outline of the connection between yourself and AE?
I go back to begin with 5 Russell brothers, all born in a little village, or near a little village called Nobber in County Meath, North Meath, in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. A's grandfather Thomas was one of those brothers. He established his family in the townland of Sidon, also in Meath. My great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, two greats, John, he established his family in the village of Minalty, in also County Meath. And then there were 3 other brothers, Joseph, Elias, Samuel, all very biblical names, who lived around Nobber in County Meath. John's entire family converted to Catholicism in the aftermath of Catholic emancipation, caused by his daughter, Frances, who married a Catholic farmer, tenant farmer in Nobber. In John Eglinton's biography of AE, reference is made to one member of the family who had done something disgraceful and was never mentioned by the father, Thomas. AE liked to think that the man from God knows where, friend of Wolfe Tone and Robert Emmet, was the man, was something disgraceful. We can confirm that the man from God knows where was nothing to do with our family. Could it have been, and here I take the liberty of to speculate, that the choice made by Brother John and all his family to convert to Catholicism at a time when religion was such an emotive issue in the aftermath of Catholic emancipation, it wasn't something that a strictly Protestant family would have approved of or accepted even. During the 1830s, a man named Thomas Russell, I speculate AE's grandfather, was part of a proselytizing movement in North Meath and Cavan, and made regular reports to the leader of this movement, a Reverend Winnie, on the progress, or more often the lack of progress, among a number of local teachers who were hired to fuel this movement at the time. So is that the first mention of AE's grandfather? Something I speculate on.
We're obviously commemorating the 90th anniversary of AE's death this year, but in 1985 there was a commemoration as well. And to what extent was your family involved or aware of it, Arthur?
We had no knowledge, or we didn't have the information that we have now in relation to that. So I'm afraid the 50th anniversary passed us by. I personally, in my professional life, caught up with cooperatives because, I worked in a cooperative for the first 20 years of my professional life, and subsequent to that I've been working in abroad in countries like Poland, Central Asia, and the work of cooperation was something that was very relevant in trying to move the emerging farmers of the from former communist countries towards member-owned and run cooperatives rather than state-run organisations which controlled rather than helped.
Yes.
Yeah.
And obviously you've had a lengthy and very diverse career in the agricultural and agribusiness sector generally. What's your thoughts on Russell's legacy for the cooperative sector?
In my cooperative work in Eastern Europe especially, and in Central Asia as well, I drew quite heavily on the Irish cooperative experience, as well as using the Irish co-op business model to enable formulating and promoting model co-op, the model cooperative constitutions. So, you know, we try to discuss the ideal, if you like, the utopian ideal for cooperatives, and what role they had in helping these emerging farmers to become self-sustaining and getting them involved in market linkage and processing and adding value to their produce. I was involved in actually drawing up trying to draw model rules and constitutions for such organisations. I'm not saying that there's organisations out there. I hope that at least we were able to transfer some of this information and knowledge that in future time will become bear fruit.
Yes.
And help these farmers to become their own businesses. One of the remarks that I don't know whether the AE is the author of it, but one expression that we use quite a lot: nobody can do for farmers what they must do for themselves, and it's an enabling role that we would like to promote.
This vision, the way Russell was cycling around rural Limerick and Galway, this vision of Arthur cycling around Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan or something, trying to preach the gospel. In terms of Russell's output, what bit, I mean, it was so vast, what bits of it resonates the most with you personally, Arthur?
Well, I believe that especially since the Whittaker plan came into play, and that is seen as the beginning of Irish, you know, the growth of the Irish economy. I believe that the cooperatives in Ireland have been a vital part of that. In other words, it was the vehicle that began. Agricultural production is kind of seen in Ireland and in other countries as the vehicle that gives you a lift off in the economy. That you know, instead of putting the beef on the hoof, you know, the bullocks and sending them over to England to be processed, you process them here, and you sell the beef. You don't sell the bullock. You know, that's a very simplistic way to look at it. But you know, when you look at the Irish economy, agriculture was the sole and leading sector that helped to fuel this growth. Today, I think Irish agriculture accounts for 12% of the total economy, whereas other sectors, you know, the computer sector, the IT sector, the pharmaceutical sector, has kind of taken over. But you know, in the beginning, it was agriculture that fueled this.
Yeah, agreed. And obviously it's here with that stuff. I mean, it's, you know, will it last? Who knows? Whereas agriculture
well, you know, within that, the Irish economy, or the Irish cooperatives are quite a dynamic presence, and you know, I think the Irish economy would be much the poorer without it.
And in terms of the public more widely, what part of Russell's output do you think resonates the most?
Well, having worked with cooperatives, you know, the fact that farmers themselves are responsible for that and have ownership of it, and have maintained their ownership despite, you know, they've become huge conglomerates in their own right, but the ownership is still invested in the members.
Yes.
And they make the key decisions, you know, for development.
sure Seamus has the scars from some of that already, but we won't go there because farmers will be a challenging set of taskmasters. In terms of Russell's his descendants, in particularly outside of Ireland, what contact have you got with them, or if any?
Yeah, well, I'd have to pay respect to the Lurgan branch of the AE Society, who actually made contact with us to say that, in their opinions, Brian and Michael McKernan was here behind, informed us that there was a straight connection between
Guilty as charged.
our family
Yeah.
and their
Yeah.
family, and AE's family from Lurgan, which quite surprised us at the time. But the more we looked into it, the more we realised that the link was a real link, based on the marriage of. We've also made contact with direct descendants of AE in America. Diarmid emigrated to the United States in 1930, and his son Will is still alive, and the guy that I'm in contact with is Liam, which is an Irish form of William, and he's living in Maine. Now, we were actually hoping, and he was hoping, to be physically here in Ireland for this 90th commemoration, but nature had taken its course. His daughter was expecting a baby in Australia, so I think he's on the other side of the globe to celebrate that event.
Continuing the line.
Family.
Yeah.
But hopefully in the next few years he will be here.
And talking, in fact, it leads me to the next question. You mentioning the daughter, the new child. In terms of the next generation of the family, say the next adult generation, and even we leave the children off the hook for a minute, is there much interest in the connection with?
Yeah, well, I have a son who's also a member of the group. David is there, and some of our cousins have actually expressed interest in joining the society. We have got a family website, and I've put several posts up on that, to keep them informed of what's going on. So there is an abiding interest there, which is a lot more than it was when we were growing up.
The other thing, Arthur has done this really elaborate piece of research. It's family tree. It's as big as that.
Yeah.
When you put it up, but he's got it right back and so on. So it's quite detailed. And just in terms of someone who isn't an expert, I mean, we've got people who are scholars and hugely knowledgeable people in the room here, but there are also guys like me that just kind of aren't experts at all. How would you recommend someone who wants to learn more about AE, but is relatively new to the topic?
Well, I think to begin, I would recommend Michael McKennan's book on AE, which kind of hits every facet of his life. The original book that was brought out, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. He also an anthology of his poems, I think, are out. Now, since then, I've independently acquired Henry Summerfield's books, the 2-volume collection of extracts from the Irish Homestead, which I think, again, is a useful look, it's the view of the wide range of interests that the AE had. And from that point of view, I think it was worth getting. I'm dipping in and out of it. I haven't read it all yet, but it's quite. I've also read, I think it was Monk Gibbon's book, which is quite good. Eglinton's book, which is slightly different perspective, but they complement each other. I I think that's where, as I say, that's the order in which I would
Yeah,
put,
so Michael's...
just following sort of my own journey.
Your own journey,
into
Well, indeed,
the-
it kind of mirrors mine because I started with Michael McCartney's book as well, so
Yeah.
so it's...
I've
I hope you
also,
don't mind me saying so. It's an easy read. It's not a heavy it's not a heavy tome.
yeah, I've also read some of his biography as well, which is, again, very good.
Super. And Arthur, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for the insights.
Right.